Welcome back to the channel, everyone.
What's going on, guys? Thank you guys for joining in again on another video. We've got Sabers Pro. It was super fun last time, so we just had to do it again.
This time, we're gonna talk about what we like about it, what we don't like about it, and all around how it's been over the last week using these sabers.
Yeah, and overall, it has been very good. There are some things that have become little issues, slight little tweaks, quirky things, but we're gonna go over that in this episode. Back again with another episode sponsored by Sabers Pro. They sent out these sabers for us to test, review, and also to use in our short film coming up in 2026.
Absolutely incredible of them. Just for letting us use these, review them. Absolutely love it.
Well, and keep them as well. We don't have to send them back.
Sabers Pro, thanks.
Yeah, you did a good job. Designs we went over on the last video are super impressive, especially first glance. And then also, after a week of using these things, everything looks so good.
And they're holding up.
Yes.
The fact that there aren't any scuffs on these hilts right now is pretty impressive. You know, we're aggressive when we fight.
Yeah.
Like we don't try to hold back. These blades, they're great. They still glow really nicely, even after we're smacking it around and around. Like we've been out there hitting really hard, and they're holding up. There's no damage to the light glow. There's no real damage to the blade itself.
Yeah.
We'll show you the scuffs that we've had to deal with or are accumulating over the past week, and I'm sure it'll just progress with time the more you use them, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's a natural thing. Whenever you're fighting with anything, you're gonna get scuffs on it, but we don't see any kind of cracking, which would be a big thing if you started seeing cracking with these blades. But another cool thing about these is they're replaceable. These blades, you can just buy them separately. If one does break, I'm sure it will come. You know, that's inevitable.
Especially with the amount that we're gonna use them, and I'm sure all of you will use them.
Exactly.
They could end up breaking. I see that happening a year, most likely 2 years down the road. I don't know. I really can imagine them holding up for a really long time.
I'm excited to see how long we get to use these for.
I agree.
And they are, you know, holding up good. And also, how many scuffs can we get on here before the light begins to be affected? So overall, the blade has been very good, as opposed to us, you know, fighting and dueling with these things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very happy with them. So let's begin going over some of the pros, all of the pros that we like about them. I feel like we just touched on a good bit of them, but we do want to kind of go over things that are really nice about these sabers. Starting off, the hilts. Like we've already said, these things are incredible. The weight of them, it literally feels like it came from a movie. And that's what you're looking for in a saber like this, I believe.
Yeah, you want that weight to be accurate. You want that weight to be balanced whenever you have it in your hand and you're swinging, just like a regular sword would be. You want it to be balanced, and they've nailed that on these. And every single design has its own balancing point, and it has its own balance and momentum that you can utilize. And it feels really good in the hands whenever you're wielding these things. So that aspect of these, they nailed it.
They did. I also am really happy with the way the blades come out and go back in the hilt. I was curious when we got them how that was gonna take place, and the fact that they're just a couple little Allen screws, it makes it really easy for these blades to actually come out of the hilt. The worst part about that, I would say, is it can come loose.
Yes.
Not often, but it can happen. If you're fighting over and over and you're not tightening it, you know, before you fight with it, it'll come loose eventually.
Yeah, that is one thing we did notice when we were dueling with them. You could avoid that with putting some Loctite on there, and it wouldn't just back out on its own. You'd have to manually do it. So it might be something that we try and do, is put some Loctite on there and see if it helps. Or if you just keep an eye on it while you're battling, you know, take every 10 minutes or so to, you know, lock them down.
Yeah.
It's not terrible.
Will Loctite make it harder to loosen and tighten?
Yes, but not impossible.
Okay.
You know, so it's not going to just seize it in there.
A little more time consuming basically versus what it is now. And again, it is not a big issue. That's not something we've really ran into. We just know that we don't want to, during our short film shoot, have to screw it in every single time we feel like it's coming loose, or if we're battling, we don't want the blade to come out as we're battling, because then someone could get hit, hurt, or something along those lines.
But what is awesome is they give you plenty of extra set screws. I mean, we have a whole bag of just extra set screws to put into these things, and maybe they did that for a purpose, you know.
I think so.
You know, you have these extra ones, they know that they're going to come out. I mean, it's with that kind of stuff, it's wear and tear, and it's going to happen, you know. So, but they prepare for that. They put set screws in there, so you don't necessarily have to worry about going to the hardware store and finding some. So that was a good thing that they did, for sure.
All right, Malachi, go through each saber and turn them on. Let's light these bad boys up.
All right, so we have this one and our orange. This one is in our purple, blue, and green.
So these colors are not just random colors we chose. These colors are actually from our short film, Unstable. These are some of the hero. So actually, this brings me into one of the things we found out about these hilts. When you're charging the gold, what is that called? The gold charge?
The internals, the battery, where the SD card is, the battery, all that stuff. Internals,
So when you're charging the internals, we've discovered that when it's in the off mode on the actual internal charge port, it doesn't charge as well as it would if it's in the on mode. So we highly recommend putting it in the on mode and then charging it, and then afterwards you can turn it off if you'd like, or you could just leave it. I honestly don't think the on mode will deplete the battery. It doesn't seem like it.
I don't believe so either, just because these have an automatic fully power off. So if they sit idle for, I think it's 10 minutes, and you can also change that within the app. But if it sits idle for 10 minutes, it completely shuts off. Yeah. So you're not going to have that issue of it just depleting the battery as it sits. It's a very nice attribute of it.
It's a good feature. Yeah. I like the fact in the app that you can change all those features.
Yes.
We actually found an even more extensive setting part within that app that we didn't know about until I think last night we discovered it.
We'll actually go through one of those settings. One of the main things that we found with dueling with them is the twist motion, right? And so what you can do within the app is you can disable that and turn that off. So you have to press the button. That was one thing that we did find that was a little annoying, is every time we were going to swing or do some cool spinning trick, it would turn off on us. Yeah,
it was accidentally happening, especially when you're trying to choreograph a scene, a dueling scene. We wanted to have the lights, emitting and everything. We didn't just want to use the blades. It was at night and everything, so we were excited about it. So we wanted it on and to stay on, but it kept turning off while we were fighting, and that's not really something you want. But Sabers Pro has that app where you can change all the settings. I would say the one setting we found that you don't seem to be able to change yet is the blaster mode, to where this button right here makes the blaster sound. I don't think we can take that off or turn it off. If you can, we haven't found it.
I'm not sure, but we also haven't dived into the separate USB drive that they give you.
You're right.
So you might be able to program something on there to where you don't even have the blaster. So that's one thing we haven't dived into, but on the regular app and the regular settings it comes with, we don't think that you can turn that off.
Once we dive into the USB drive, we'll do a video about what we discover, how to change things and all that, so you won't have to try to search for all that. We'll actually have a video that explains how to use that, how to change everything about your saber, and maybe it unlocks all these settings that we're trying to change for our short film.
It is a possibility, and we can also put certain saber sounds on there.
Which is wild, because we have some of our own saber sounds that we want to use for Unstable. I wonder if we can put them in there, and it really puts us in our reality, basically, our world.
Yeah. I believe it will. Like you said, we're gonna dive into that, and we'll do another video on explaining all of that and how you can do it as well.
Yeah. Turn them all back on, and I actually want to show the sabers without the light.
I think this one's dead.
Oh yeah, it's done for.
It's completely dead.
It is. As soon as I opened it up, I noticed it was in the off position. I was like, that's not going to last long. I know it's not. I charged it for 4 or 5 hours probably, the amount that I thought would be necessary. And then I saw that it was in the off mode, and he had just told me,
yes,
they're not charging well in the off mode.
Yeah,
I was like,
it was a recent discovery that I was testing out, and sadly that was the outcome. But you know, now that you know it, you know it's going to make it easier for further charging.
it's pretty awesome. These sabers, the glow, the feel, I'm really happy with them. But let's go over the negative parts of them. We've already touched on a couple things, but we want to lay them out kind of in order. So there's something that we've noticed about the hilts themselves. So like this part, you can kind of hear it. It's loosening.
Yep.
And I didn't take very long for that to happen. Did you tighten this one?
And it's the same thing with that.
And it's the same thing. Again, it's just the screws or the piece that's holding them together.
I think they're pressure fitted on. These
You
top
think so?
pieces, because I unscrewed this piece and I took it off, and it looked more so pressure fitted than anything. So things like that I could see starting to immediately show that kind of wiggle.
Okay.
But I tried yanking on this thing, I tried twisting it, and it doesn't seem like it's coming off. It just seems like it's a little loose. But you know, time will tell with those things.
I was thinking it was one of these that did something about it, but it really might not be, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I know with this one, it's one piece. This top is one piece. It seems like it's pressure fitted, but even if it was to come loose, you can see those set screws. Like it's not going to come out because it's blocking it. So even if it does completely disconnect, it's not going to fling off of there.
So the smallest amount of wiggle, not a big deal. Just something that we wanted to acknowledge, basically.
Yes. All right, next we're going to go over the lower budget Sabers, the lower budget Hilts. They're a little bit more affordable. We've went over this and how we've noticed some wiggling, but on these, I haven't noticed anything coming loose, which is wild to think because they are a little bit cheaper. Even this leather wrapping hasn't even started to coming off, and you can see the end right here, but it's still intact.
And we've fought with this one a couple times.
Yep, and that one last night.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're, for the price, are holding up incredibly.
Yes. And another thing I noticed with these, since they don't have a lot of these extra parts and extra pieces on here, they are actually easier to grip in the hand, and they don't have a lot of obscurities that you have to work around. Both of these sabers feel very good in the hands. It
felt really easy to fight with versus these hilts where they're ribbed a little bit. They've got these indentions and things. Like this one, there's not a lot of places to actually like hold it flat. Like this one, you have this entire hilt that just feels good. These don't not feel good. They're just master sabers, which means they're gonna have that weight to them, and it gets exhausting after a little bit, but feels so good. It's worth it.
I think my only complaint with this saber is that button. That's literally the only thing that gets in your way.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to grip the saber a little bit lower, or just be very aware that that's there.
So I was fighting yesterday with this saber, and I kept turning the color to the infinite color mode, and it just kept changing, and then it would turn off, and it just, this button is raised, so when you're fighting with it, you want to grab it here, but the button is right there. So every time you went to move around a little chaotic and not, knowing what you're doing, it would turn off, or it would do something random, or it would press the blaster button. There's a lot of weird things that it kept happening. These are flush to the hilt, so it doesn't do it as often.
I wasn't noticing it at all.
I don't think I did either.
As he said, it's flush. It's almost actually a little bit inset.
It is. Actually, you can see it. It is inset.
And where your hand naturally goes is it goes about right here and there. So you're away from that button pretty much completely.
You are.
And same with this one as well. Your hand naturally goes to these spots. Now this one maybe a little bit lower, but even there, like, I gotta stretch to press that button.
Right, but if you palmed it, it wouldn't. Your palm wouldn't do anything to it.
No, if I grabbed it on this end, I'm squeezing very hard, and it's hitting the clash.
I caught myself gripping here a little bit, so I would avoid the button because down here feels weird. You're at the tail end of this hilt.
It's not at that balancing point.
Fighting like this feels balanced.
Yeah.
If this button were inset, this hilt would be incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible.
Yes.
We love it. The weight of it is so good. It feels like you're fighting with a master saber.
It's still a good saber, and it's still a fantastic hilt. You just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the thing with these is you just kind of got to get used to that button, be aware that it's there.
Yeah.
But design-wise, it would definitely make more sense being flush.
This one feels more accurate with it being raised like this. I understand the want to raise it, but practically does not work as well because it's such a small hilt. You have this one so much bigger.
Yes.
When you compare the two,
oh yeah,
that size difference it's pretty up there.
Oh yeah.
You know? So like you have a lot more room to grab on with the
and I've noticed with this one is this and this bottom piece is the perfect. That's the spot. If you grab up here, you can actually, you can take these knobs off so you could have more of a flush. But even with these pieces right here, it's not the most comfortable thing, but you could do it. Man, especially if you took these knobs off.
Yeah.
And this button actually doesn't get in the way very much. It's a lot smaller compared to this one. So you don't hit it as much, but I could see you still probably would hit it depending on how you grab it.
Yeah.
But even like that, like my hand's nowhere near the button, and especially right here, it's nowhere near. It's just not at that balancing point. But overall, man, you can't. How can you really complain about something that is so good, and it gives you a real saber in your hand?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Literally.
Other than cutting through walls or cutting limbs off.
We don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, the designs, they are very well done. There's a few things that we would change, but man, overall, you really can't beat them. And they have so many more designs too. On their website.
We were looking through the website and how vast the hilts are, and you can get almost anything you want on this website. It's incredible.
Yeah. So I would say, honestly, I guess this is my personal opinion. If you're going to do a lot of dueling, I would go for more of a sleek look, more something that doesn't have a whole bunch of knobs, doodads, like both of these. And you can get some more expensive ones that are sleeker designs. And if you're wanting more of a prop for either short film, cosplay, anything like that, where you're going more for look and design, choose something like this, where you're going to do a minimal battling or so.
I agree with that. I agree with that completely. Because I would prefer to duel with these two hilts.
Yeah. And it might be something that we practice with these. These are our practice sabers.
And then leave these out for the short film.
Yep. But that's going to come with time that we'll figure out. And maybe even once we start dueling with these a lot more heavily, putting hours behind these hilts, that we figure them out and get a better grip on them.
Yeah, so I think so. That's all we have about these hilts. Of course, we'll make that USB drive video as soon as we figure that out, as soon as we start putting our own things in here.
Yep, and I think we're hoping that we might do individual videos on these, right?
I would like to.
We talked about doing individuals and kind of going a little bit more in depth on those, or if you're specifically looking for one of these, that a video like that might help you.
Again, we want to reach out and say thank you, Sabers Pro, so much for sending these sabers to us, letting us review them, and getting a hands-on experience with them. We hope that you go pick up a Sabers Pro saber and enjoy it just as much as we are, because these things literally make you feel like a kid. I'm not kidding. The smiles that are coming from our faces when we're fighting with these is absurd. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. They're amazing, and they've helped with our choreography as well for our short film.
Yeah.
And being able to hold them in the hand.
It puts you in the scene.
Yeah.
It does. Like, it just does.
You can hold regular sticks all day and fight with them, but this, whenever you get the light, you get the feeling of the hilt.
Yeah.
It really puts you in that world. We do appreciate it, Sabers Pro. You're awesome. Your designs are awesome. You keep doing what you do. We're going to keep supporting you.
Yeah. everyone, thanks for watching. We're 2 out of 4.
Take it easy. You underestimate my power. Oh wait, you're orange.
Don't try to estimate my power.
Don't try it, Anakin.
I have the high ground.
Wrong.